he any better?
Come away from me, Lucy.
But Mr. Harvey...
No going near the forecastle. No taking risks.
But he's the third this voyage. What is it?
Sweet. Sweet.
What's that?
Sweet smell. So lovely. Oh, lovely. It's wandering in his mind.
The only smell down here is them stinking wet hides in the hold. That ain't sweet.
It's the same sickness, sir.
Same as the others?
Seems to be.
Do you recognize it?
No, sir.
A cargo wet hides and bones ain't exactly the purest. The maggots are probably playing leapfrog down there.
It's still 2 days to Liverpool, sir. What do we do about the sick man?
Bury him. When he's dead. In the midst of life we are in death, of whom we may seek the succor but of thee, O Lord, who for our sins art justly displeased. Thou knowest, Lord, the secrets of our hearts. Shut not thy merciful ears to our prayer, but spare us, Lord, most holy.
He shouldn't be on this ship.
Judge
Your father shouldn't allow it.
Ain't got no home ashore. No mother. This is my home.
Forasmuch as it hath pleased Almighty God of his great mercy to take unto himself the soul of our dear brother here departed, we therefore commit his body to the deep, to be turned into corruption, looking for the resurrection of the body, when the sea shall give up her dead, and the life of the world to come through our Lord Jesus Christ.
What are they?
They're his belongings. He might be infected.
According to the mighty working, whereby he is able to subdue all things to himself. Right, get the men back to work, Mr. Harvey. This ain't a holiday.
All hands to work. Move!
Get it through their thick skulls that no one's to breathe a word of this to the port authorities. I ain't gonna get stuck in quarantine for 6 weeks. Those 3 men died of natural causes.
Hello, Lucy. Be in Liverpool tomorrow. You'll be able to see all your friends.
Friends? He's the only friend I got. Stupid animal. Stupid, aren't you?
But you'll have to tell a customs man when he comes aboard. He'll be in the ship's log.
Pneumonia, that's what he'll put. Or lost overboard.
Well, then we should report it. If it is that stinking rotten cargo causing a fever, we can't carry that into port.
It's the machinery. Sailing ships, you never got nothing like this. The inspection comes out the steam engine at night, you mark my words.
I've never seen a disease like it, sir. It strikes very quickly. All 3 died within a day. All of a sudden, they felt very weak, and then collapsed with fever. There's no other sign apart from the smell.
The what?
All of a sudden, the air has a sweet smell around them, sir.
No marks on the body?
No, none. The new health officer, sir, is very zealous, and any attempts to conceal the cause of these...
You know the cause?
No, sir.
Well, then, if we're stuck in quarantine for 6 weeks, we'll all be the losers. No man would get a halfpenny more, and their wives and children may well be starving on shore.
With respect, sir.
You're about to take your master's ticket, Mr. Harvey. Now, what would you do? You don't know the cause, you're only guessing. Now, look, Mac, why complicate matters and lose your owner's money? You have a responsibility to yourself and your crew, too.
Time is money.
Your owner's money, yes.
6 complete shiploads of railway equipment to South Africa.
Aye, all in one sweep.
It's a high freight rate, too, for these times. It's a rare contract, James.
Well, hurry up and sign it, will you? I've a lot to do this morning.
Now, well, just a minute. Now, 3 sailing ships and 3 steam. Yet McCutters here specify 2 of the steam ships to have large hatches and heavy lift steam winches.
Well, the sailing ships are good enough for the rail ends, the small ironwork, and we need those special steamers for the rolling stock.
It's a damn sight more expensive.
And they're paying handsomely. So 3 sailing and 3 special steamers it shall be.
But we don't have 3 steamers of any type.
Well, we will have.
How?
Well, I'll charter them.
Look, steamers with steam winches do not grow on trees.
Oh, come on, Robert, sign it.
No, I think we ought to find them before we commit ourselves.
The risk losing the contract. Look, I can charter them within a week. Now, come on, sign. Like an old woman.
Well, one of us has to be cautious.
Yeah, not with that, darling.
Well, what happens if we can't fulfill?
Well, our property will be destroyed.
Our property. My property. My business, my warehouses.
Nothing unusual about that. Here, what do you make of this man?
Dr. Darling. Well, he's the new town health officer. Yes, he's written to me, too. What's it all about, then?
Well, the new health rules. How to mollycoddle your seamen, make them bow and idle. He has the effrontery to ask me, am I conforming to his new health rules, voluntarily? If not, may he come and see me about them.
He's a formidable man, James.
Yeah, well, why write to you?
He asked me, as an MP for Liverpool, if I'm aware of the disease incident in the poorer quarters. He puts the blame, no doubt, on the ship owners for bringing it in.
No disease on my ships. Can't afford it.
Morning.
Morning, pilot.
Customs boarding officer aboard yet?
He's below with the captain.
Right. Let's get underway.
Name of this ship is the Prince Edward, owner's Fraser Line. Master?
Thomas Cochrane.
Cochrane. Whence do you come?
Passando on the River Plate, bound to Liverpool. Cargo of red-hides and fresh bones.
Do you have a clean bill of health?
I do.
Signed T.L. Jefferson, British Consul. No infectious disease present in Passando when you sailed?
That's right.
Did you touch any port or communicate with any vessel during your passage?
No.
Has any person on board contacted any disease or sickness?
No.
None at all?
None at all.
Is there anything else you wish to tell me in the interests of good faith?
Have I what?
Now, that's a new question Dr. Darling has added. He's the new health officer.
Damn you, Dr. Darling, I've answered your questions, haven't I?
You've nothing to add, then?
No.
Very well.
Mr. Onedin is here, ma'am.
Ask him to wait a moment, will you?
Yes, ma'am.
James,
Elizabeth.
this is a welcome surprise. Isn't often we see you here in the Fraser office.
Yes, well, I was just passing and thought to see if I could help in any way.
Help?
Well, the shipping line's a heavy enough burden on a man's shoulders, let alone a woman.
They are Onedin shoulders.
Hey, that's true. Hey, you would have thought it. And an Eden. Owning the Fraser line. Oh, poor old Jack Fraser. You know, I could never understand why he was so against me. We could have worked side by side to our mutual benefit.
You mentioned help.
Ah, well, if you need my advice or the benefit of my experience.
Oh, how kind. Success has mellowed you, James. I have heard it said, but I didn't truly believe it.
You know, I could never understand why Jack went over to steamships. A great mistake.
A most profitable mistake.
Yeah.
But there, my father-in-law was ever a man of vision.
I see why he was so fond of you. Elizabeth, I never asked you this before, but,
Yes, he left me everything.
the shipyard and the ship, everything.
Lock, stock, and barrel.
Well, he knew it would all go to his grandson one day. That is Albert's son. Oh, how was young William, by the way?
I do have rather a busy day ahead of me, James, but thank you for the benefit of your experience.
I expect you find some difficulty finding specialised business. Steam business, that is.
Is that what you came to see me about?
Oh, Elizabeth.
Would that be the contract you've been hawking round every steamship line in Liverpool the last few days?
Oh, that? Well.
Hold her there. Steady she goes.
Steady as she goes, then.
Be glad to get home, little lady. Fair trip for a wee thing like you.
I think she's called a chill pilot.
I'm all right.
She should be in bed. She's shivering.
She'll be all right. It's just a chill.
Oh, sweet smell.
You have signed a contract for 3 special steamships you've not been able to charter.
I'm offering you an opportunity to do business, to better yourself.
Most kind. I'm interested.
What, in all 3 ships?
Possibly, but not on those terms.
Well, you'll get none better.
I want 5% more on each ship.
Each ship?
Take it or leave it.
Here, Elizabeth, let me give you a bit of advice. In business, never say take it or leave it unless you mean it.
But I do mean it.
3%.
4.
Good. Oh, on condition we split the brokerage commission.
60-40 my way.
45-55.
All right.
By the way, you do have 3 such ships available, don't you?
Of course.
Well, I saw only 2 in the berth.
Leave me to run my own business, James. Do you mind?
Unless I supply all 6 ships, I can't fulfill the contract.
I know.
Good. Well, the cattles will have delivered by Monday. I want those ships ready, loaded, and to sail by Thursday. Well, good afternoon.
Thank you for your brotherly concern for my welfare. Do we have 3 ships available?
Well, the Wilhelm and the Wildfowler could start loading in a day, ma'am. And the Prince Edward's and the Mersey waiting for a berth. She has all the necessary modifications.
That's all right, then.
She's ill, isn't she?
Could be. The mate's looking after her.
Captain, what is the complement of this vessel?
What?
In your absence, I gave an order which could not be carried out. Your complement is 21, I believe.
That's right.
And are you 3 under strength?
Yes.
You have lost 3 men since leaving Paysandu.
Natural causes.
You failed to report this to the boarding officer.
I had no obligation to. They inquired about illness. They died of natural causes.
I shall report this to the customs house. Until the chief health officer clears this vessel, you will remain at anchor, and no one will leave her.
My daughter, she's ill.
Dr. Darling will attend to your daughter, sir.
But, Sarah, I know all about slums.
It would still look bad if you refused to accompany Dr. Darling, Robert.
Dr. Darling is just trying to make trouble. I mean, it's not his job to provide hospitals, merely to advise as to their suitability and necessity. I mean, he's only been appointed 3 months, and already he treats half Liverpool Town Council with open contempt.
He's a dedicated man. He'll brook no opposition.
Well, he doesn't impress me.
You haven't met him. I agree he's not a gentleman, but still.
Sarah, what would the electorate say if I were seen to be consorting with the Irish poor? They've poured into this town in their hundreds of thousands, diseased, ignorant, starving, and they expect my voters to look after them. Why, some of them are not much better than animals.
You can still agree to meet Dr. Darling. He suggested time, does he not?
8 o'clock this evening. I don't know as how I shall be free then.
Well, you are free. I've checked with your clerk.
Well, I don't know.
Sir?
Have you been past the Fraser berth today?
Yes, sir. 7 this morning.
How many ships loading there?
2, sir. Both steamships. Taking on railway wagons. Huge steam winches they've got, sir.
No sign of a 3rd ship?
No, sir, none.
No. What is my sister up there?
Well, there's talk she's crewing for 2 ships only, sir. And with us needing hands for 3, that leaves precious little sea scum adrift.
She assured me that she had 3 steamships available.
Well, there's talk of her Fraser ship possibly being in quarantine, sir. You know, the Prince Edward. Now, the health officer has ordered that no vessel is to make contact until he's been out to clear it.
That's not him. That's Scarecrow.
Hey, that's him.
Captain Corcoran.
Yes?
My name is Starling. Where is your daughter?
In hospital.
I beg your pardon?
I've sent her to the hospital in Liverpool, but it's jolly boat.
Sorry, sir. I couldn't prevent it.
You do realize the gravity of what you have done?
Yes, but she is my daughter.
Yes. Yes. The 3 men who died.
Natural causes. I've already reported on that.
What natural causes?
One a pneumonia, the other 2 both lost overboard during the storm off the Azores.
That is not what your crew say.
My crew?
So the pilot informs me. Mr. Corcoran, I have 800,000 souls to protect. I am not a fool. I would remind you I have the power to send you back to your port of origin if I am not satisfied.
But now there's no...
And I will use my powers if necessary. So I ask you once again, what was the cause of those men's deaths? What were your daughter's symptoms?
That has nothing to do with it.
Very few doctors in this country have any knowledge of tropical diseases. I have. For her sake, tell me.
Weakness, mainly. Sudden prostration. Voice a whisper.
No marks on the skin?
No.
No vomiting or cramps?
No.
What else have you brought back from Paysandu, other than cargo?
Nothing.
Are you sure?
Mementos, bits and pieces.
Such as?
Shawl, pair of shoes. My daughter brought a doll.
I declare this vessel in quarantine, pending further investigation. I am not satisfied, sir. She will remain here for 40 days, during which time no one will enter or leave her except a medical officer, on pain of being fired upon by Her Majesty's Marines.
And no one ever takes a notice of
You
that law.
are to hoist the quarantine flag forthwith.
You assured me that you had 3 steamships available. Special hatches and steam winches.
And so I did. How was I to know that Prince Edward was going to be held in quarantine?
In this business, you do not count your chickens.
I count my chickens. I like that. At least I had 2 such vessels. You signed that contract having none at all.
Oh, 1 steamship. Surely someone in the whole of Liverpool must have one suitable for charter.
No one. 2 of my clerks have scoured Liverpool this very morning. There's nothing in London or Cardiff either.
You sound almost pleased.
Resigned, that's all. Unlike you, James, the impossible is beyond my feminine capabilities.
Well, I'm not going to lose this contract.
Looks as if you'll have to.
We, Elizabeth, we!
Yes, I do understand that, James. What I can't understand is why you're so desperate about this contract. There'll be others.
It's all very well for you to take this attitude. You haven't had to fight for every length of rope, for every yard of canvas. Huh? You've had it all fall into your lap.
I had no idea you were so jealous of me, James. I'm flattered.
You've got a lot to learn, Elizabeth.
Yes, I do agree, James, and you've taught me much already. But I do know that I lack your tenacity, and I will try and do better in the future. Now, you say we're not going to lose this contract in spite of my having let you down. Well, James, I'm waiting to hear what you have to suggest.
You'd enjoy seeing me go to McCatter's cap in hand, wouldn't you? Begging them to release me from the contract because I cannot fulfill its terms.
You wouldn't have to beg McCatter's to release you from the contract, would you?
What have you heard?
That McCatter's would be only too pleased to release you from it.
They're looking for an excuse to drop us.
Maybe they've had a lower offer.
Maybe.
You know they have. Who from?
Look, Elizabeth, we've got to keep up a face while we keep looking for the ship.
There is also the small matter of a crew. I understand you've taken every available man for your sailing ships.
Oh, well, then that's your problem. You signed a contract saying that you supply 3 steamships and crew.
And due to an unforeseen circumstance, I cannot do so.
That won't go in your favour in a court of law.
Court of law?
Hmm? Oh, if I lose this contract, you'll be deemed responsible. I can sue you for default.
You'd sue me?
Well, I'd be bound to try to recover my losses somehow.
My own brother?
Oh, well, I'd be unwilling to, of course, but business is business. So you see, Elizabeth, if I lose this contract, you have a little more to lose than I have.
Well, we cannot fulfill this contract. So McCatter's can get his lower offer, and you can sue me for default. Damn you!
Elizabeth, you've given me heart. I think you're as determined as I am now to find our 3rd ship.
There isn't one to be found. We can't conjure one up out of the air.
All right, well, I'd better be going. Well, let's both carry on looking. We'll let each other know if we find one. Goodbye.
Yes, ma'am?
My brother is threatening to sue me because I cannot fulfill the McCatter contract. What do you think of that?
Well, he'd be perfectly justified, ma'am. In law, I mean.
My own brother. I want you to go round to McCatter's, find out who's been offering to undercut the Onedin line, and tell them I'm prepared to discuss terms.
It is not just the appalling housing difficulties, the slums, the disease. The sewerage and drainage system of the entire town should be remodeled. A proper lazaretto should be built in the Mersey for ships in quarantine. Medicine should be provided free for the poor.
Forgive me, Doctor, but you'll not find much civic backing for such a charity.
It is not charity. It is self-interest, self-preservation. It is only by the merest chance that the whole dunghill hasn't erupted into a major epidemic already. Houses are so crowded that every room and cellar is occupied by at least 4 families, lying in filth, indescribable. No heating, no sanitation. Women who have just given birth lying on rotting straw without fire or food, and no hope of getting them. And every tide floating in, a new importation of Irish misery.
Then why do they still come?
Because God help them, they are fleeing from conditions worse still.
But, Doctor, we've done everything we can. I myself, I'm a member of the League of Purity, and
This particular hospital that you're taking us to?
One of the few oases, but desperately in need of funds. That is where you come in. Shall I lead the way?
And there are 6 more in here, 4 children.
And there's just yourself to look after all these patients?
Well, Dr. Daniels calls daily. He's the local practitioner. And I have 2 assistants, but they are unqualified.
Unqualified?
I am a Nightingale nurse, Mrs. Onedin.
Oh, I see. So the way this hospital is laid out, all space and air...
It's Miss Nightingale's method.
Remarkable.
But it is only a converted stable. Miss McNeil needs properly constructed premises.
And I need money in any case to continue this establishment.
But surely, Miss McNeil, it's customary for a gentlewoman's family to assist in philanthropy of this kind.
Well, my family don't approve my work. And I can only afford to take in the most serious cases.
One has no idea.
And you have lived here all your lives.
Oh, is this a special ward?
Yes, in a way. It is my home. Oh, do please sit down. Do you mind sitting on the bed, Mr. Onedin?
Oh, no, please. No matter.
I'm very glad you've called, Doctor. I've had 3 deaths since yesterday. Identical symptoms, but I could not identify the disease. Sudden prostration, fever, death within 24 hours.
And no marks on the skin.
That is correct. I have heard reports of other cases in the town.
When did your patient first show these symptoms?
Yesterday. A little girl of 10 called Lucy Corcoran off a ship. I admitted her in an advanced condition, but she died within the hour.
Mm-hmm. Was she delirious?
No, perfectly clear-headed, though distressed because her pet had died.
Her pet?
A cavy, a guinea pig. I was going to return this to her father with the brooch. It has been disinfected. I burned her clothes, of course.
And the animal?
Burned too.
I will return this.
Thank you. I did write to Lucy's father.
Letters, sir. Ship's agents threw them aboard.
Thank you. Stay here, please, Matt.
Sir. $39 to go.
39 what?
Days.
Oh, provided no one else dies.
What happens then?
Start the 40 days all over again.
My sister says there's an outbreak of disease in the poor quarter.
Well, there's not much point us stuck here, sir, if it's already ashore. Is there any news of Lucy?
It's from the hospital.
I had her body removed to Dr. Daniel's house. I believe he is trying to identify the disease.
Please, miss.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, Oliver, I'm here.
I understood that there were ample hospitals.
Patients from this district won't go to them. They are too far away.
Then why hasn't one been built here?
Why, indeed.
Doctor, could you come, please?
Now then, young fellow. And what is this, eh? Oh, yes. Let's loosen you up.
He came in this morning. The same symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Now then, lad. Where do you live?
Rockingham Close, sir.
Oh, how many?
19, my family.
Mm-hmm. In how many rooms?
Oh, excuse me.
Now then, lad. Has anything bitten you? Let's feel under your arms, eh? Tender? Hmm?
Oh, could you help, please?
What?
If you could help.
Oh, yes, sir. Of course.
Bring her to bed. Robert! This way. But that's your bed. Somehow I didn't think I'd be using it tonight. Robert, you touched that creature.
What else could I do?
Mrs. Onedin, would you help me, please?
Will you, as my MP, support me in an application to the Council for the severest and most urgent methods to be taken to stop the spread of this?
Oh, yes.
Poor souls.
You've tried all the crimps?
I've tried every possible source of men. We've got a mate and 3 seamen, and that's scraping the bottom of the barrel.
So we need,
a cook, engineer, stokers.
And a ship.
Aye, sir, and a ship.
I'm not going to lose this contract, Paynes.
No, sir. Did you say it was the beach line that was trying to undercut us? Yeah. Because I saw one of Mrs. Fraser's clerks coming out of their office towards midnight last night. I've been doing the rounds of the gin halls looking for men. I just thought I'd mention it.
Mr. Baines.
Sir?
We have found our ship.
Where, sir?
Out there, the Prince Edward.
But she's in quarantine, sir.
Thank you. If anybody wants me, I shall be at the Beach Line office.
Very well, ma'am. Good afternoon, Mr. Onedin.
I'm just leaving, James, so unless it's urgent.
It is urgent. More urgent than your appointment, I think.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Baines.
Yeah, that was clever of you trying to throw in your hand with George Beach.
Give me that, please.
I've got good news for you, Elizabeth. We've found our ship,
What ship is that?
the Prince Edward.
But she's in quarantine. There's fever on board.
Ah, there's fever in the port, that we know. And people dying of it within 1 day of the Prince Edward coming up the Mersey. Now, 1 day. Do you know of any disease that can be gestated within 1 day? Of course you don't. Must have been here already.
But if there's fever...
Ah, if. Now, that ambitious new health officer of ours puts the ship under quarantine without 1 ounce of cast iron proof.
James, 3 men died on that voyage.
Could have been for a multitude of reasons. You know that as well as I do. Don't you see? This town council's trying to foist the blame for this disease on us ship owners instead of onto their own rotten sewers.
Whether there's fever on board or not, I can't bring her into port for loading.
We can bring her into Chetney Creek, ma'am. 6 miles east.
And how will you get the iron railings there?
Oh, there's a road down to the creek, ma'am.
No, James. It's too great a risk.
Well, you've no other choice, Elizabeth.
Yes, I have. So if you'll excuse me...
You're wasting your time if you're thinking of going to see George Beach. I've already seen him and told him that you cancelled your appointment.
You did what?
Well, he agreed with me. There was little point in meeting you after he'd heard I'd found my 3rd steamship.
You have not found your 3rd steamship. Excuse me.
By the way, I saw my solicitor. He assures me that I'd win hands down if I was to sue you for breach of contract.
You expect me to break the law?
Well, technically, you wouldn't be breaking it. Anyway, it's up to the men. Now, this Corcoran I don't know very well, but his first mate I do, Matt Harvey.
Yes, I know him.
Well, then let's go and talk to them. No harm in it. Start shifting that stuff down to Chetney Creek, will you?
Does this committee have the necessary executive powers?
Oh, yes. And you'll find it receptive to any kind of argument so long as you base it on money. Not too much liberalism, gentlemen. The hardship of the poor cuts very little ice here. Doctor, what is it exactly that you want?
The complete closing of the port for a month at least. A military and police cordon to seal off the entire infected centre of the town. And a string of emergency hospitals to be set up within the infected areas.
How much would all that cost?
£220,000.
Dear Doctor, that is patently impossible. Insane. Oh, they're ready for us. Shall we go in?
She looks deserted.
Ships in quarantine always look like that. Crews lose heart.
But you can't seriously expect us to close the entire port.
I see no alternative.
No ships to move in and out of the Mersey for a month.
The catastrophe that will strike if you do not take these measures will be far worse.
But owners will refuse to pay their rates. Many will be ruined. I'm surprised to find you associated with this, Mr. Onedin.
And this other proposal of yours to spend this vast sum on emergency hospitals.
Aye. We did have disease here before you appeared on the scene, Doctor.
Nevertheless, the situation is so acute on this occasion that public opinion will run us out of office unless some decisive action is taken, and soon.
Have you identified the disease?
No, I have not. But I am certain it came from the Prince Edward. I have telegraphed the Home Office for help in identification.
But that's our decision.
I had to act immediately.
Well, even so, I think...
can go over our heads, Mr. Fowler.
Yes, sir. They can take extreme measures if they see fit. According to the Prevention of Infectious Diseases Act of 18...
How much is the closure of this port going to cost?
Well, that will take me a few moments to work out.
Very well, then. Gentlemen, if you will withdraw, we will consider our decision. The town clerk will remain, if you please.
Right. It's a straight offer. Start earning this very night. I'll sit here rotting for another month, earning not a penny.
But what about our families? With this fever in the port, we should be with them.
Well, you won't help them by sitting around here. Any man who tries to break this quarantine's a dead man, you know that.
Well, that's just what we would be doing, sir.
No, you won't. You won't set foot on shore. Just touch the old wharf at Chetney Creek.
My old woman will be frightened by the illness. I should be with her.
I haven't been home for 6 months. My wife's had a baby long since I ain't never seen.
Well, then, if you're that concerned for them, you'll sign on now. Put money in their pockets. Good old food in their mouths. Now, you see these little fellas? I am prepared to pay an extra wage for any man who signs on right now. 2 extra guineas. Special bonus.
You'll make this offer, sir?
Uh-huh.
This is a Fraser ship.
Ah, well, I shall throw you on the mercies of Mrs. Fraser's generosity.
I agree. 2 extra sovereigns per man.
Yeah, you see, an owner who knows the worth of her men.
Plus an extra guinea.
Eh?
No stevedores will unload this vessel in a remote creek. It's an extra guinea for that, I believe.
Hey, you've got a rare crew here. Men who know their own minds. All right. Another guinea for unloading.
And I shall allow you to pay that one, James.
How about you, Mr. Cochrane? No comments?
Forgive me, sir, I'm not feeling very well. Well, come on, my lads. Every word Mr. Onedin has spoken is sound. So he'll be the first to mark his name, eh?
Gentlemen, we have considered your request, and we have concluded, reluctantly, that there is nothing to be done.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Except that we shall be examining the conditions of your employment by us, sir. Have any of you seen the conditions that the doctor here has been describing?
Mr. Onedin, I don't think we need go into any of this.
Look, I stand to lose everything. Business interests, present investments, everything. Unless ships can move freely in and out of this port. Yet I still think that the doctor's proposal should be implemented. And damn you all for putting your pockets before your duty.
Do we really have to listen to this tradesman's spleen?
Tradesman? Yes, sir. I am a tradesman. And therefore, sir, I think I know what is going on in the minds of the people of this town far better than you will ever in 1,000 years. And I tell you all that when your indifference and your greed and your irresponsibility are made known, public opinion will pitch you out of this council chamber neck and crop. Why, you won't even make a feeble gesture to show that you're prepared to do anything for these poor, unfortunate folk. I am disgusted. I'm profoundly ashamed. Come along, sir. We know what we must do.
Gentlemen, the Marine Guard reports that the Prince Edward is breaking her quarantine. She has weighed anchor and is attempting to reach the shore under cover of darkness. They ask for our instructions. We should prevent it.
There is no point. The disease is too firmly established on shore already.
But the law is the law. We can't have people just flouting the law. What powers are open to us, Mr. Fowler?
Under the Quarantine Act of 1836, you can use any kind of force to prevent this vessel.
What? Fire on her, you mean?
Yes, even that. Or you can arrest those responsible and bring them to trial.
Aye, that's it, a trial. Make an example of those responsible. Very well, then. Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir.
We're coming into Chetney Creek. Is it to starboard?
Matt?
It's the master. He's not very well. You can't go in there, Elizabeth.
The fever? James, we can't go on with this plan of yours.
Look to your course, man.
The master, Mr. Corcoran, is sick with the fever.
I'll sail as master myself.
You can't be serious.
Oh, ease her in gently, man. Gently.
James, listen to me. This ship is still harboring the disease. You can't take her out to sea. Don't you understand, James? You've lost this time. Admit it.
Do not attempt to land your men. This vessel is under arrest. Her Majesty's Marines have orders to fire upon any man attempting to leave this vessel.
Seems you're right, Elizabeth. Well, this time, I have lost.
Yes, James. Thank God.
Home Office physicians have established beyond doubt that it is septicemic plague. It strikes at great speed, gestation a mere hour or so, and death occurs too rapidly for the classic plague symptoms to appear. I am certain it was caused by fleas, on the caveat that young girl brought back with her.
Well, thank heaven you summoned the Home Office when you did, Doctor.
Mr. Onedin, I did not expect to find you here so early, sir.
Well, I'm just doing what little I can to help them.
Well, now we can take the most urgent steps to combat the disease.
I cannot. I am dismissed.
What?
For calling in the Home Office over their heads. A letter was delivered by hand to my home this morning.
That is absolutely scandalous. Well, rest assured, I shall do everything in my power to see that you
That
are.
is very kind of you, Mr. Onedin, but they are within their powers. They will not retract. I am dismissed.
Quarantine? The whole of Liverpool?
Once they knew what the illness was. And the port is closer. No shipping to move in or out for a month.
Blasted little souls.
No, sir. Listen. The captain of Marines explained it's what they call a force majeure, government action. Well, don't you see, sir? You're legally absolved from blame. No one can sue you. No one can move that cargo. So you haven't lost the contract after all.
Where's Elizabeth?
Have you nothing to say to me after 4 months?
What should I say?
I was hoping to see you before you sailed.
I know. I saw you on the quay.
Have you thought any more about working in the office?
I thought that we decided that I was too ambitious.
I've never been against ambition.
I'll get my master's ticket soon. And I might come knocking at your door.